Alright, so I've been doing some narrative experiments with OpenAI's ChatGPT, which isn't really designed for this, I don't think, but it's interesting to see what it'll come up with. Mainly it answers fact-based questions as far as I've seen. I haven't seen anyone experiment with this yet, but maybe someone has. So I started with write a story in the style of, and you can see it's basically summarized pretty briefly Harry Potter. There's not too much to say about that. Similarly for George R. R. Martin, a kind of brief summary overview of Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire. Although actually just Eddard's story. Then I asked it for a story about Batman in the style of George R. R. Martin. It didn't really seem to stylize it because it doesn't write prose in a style, so maybe it tried to be a bit grittier than it otherwise would be. I wasn't sure. Then this really landed well, but as you'll see, it maybe landed a bit too hard. Write a story about Batman in the style of Dr. Seuss. I was really impressed with this. It doesn't always nail meter, but it always goes for rhymes pretty well, to be honest. I said, write a story about Boris Johnson in the style of Dr. Seuss. Not too political, but it did successfully do that. I said Lynn Truss because I got Liz Truss's name wrong. And actually, Lynn Truss wrote a book which I've read called Eat, Shoots and Leaves. So it actually wrote a little Dr. Seuss style poem about that author. Then I did Liz Truss, and I suppose it doesn't know about her short premiership, so it didn't say anything about that. Going into fantasy, I wanted to just go back into trying to write prose, but at this point it got stuck in the Dr. Seuss mode. So I said an elf and an orc, and it did an okay job with that. It's pretty milk toast, pretty bland, and it got stuck in the Dr. Seuss style. Then I said, write it in the style of Joe Abercrombie, a well-known fantasy author. It remained in the Dr. Seuss style, but maybe it made it a bit grittier again. I'm not really sure. Then I said, write about a gritty cyberpunk future where an activist named Mira is challenging the status quo. Remained in Dr. Seuss style, which was pretty frustrating. A return to democracy against corporate aggression. So it's got some idea of what this cyberpunk future is. The corporations are forced to retreat. Kind of interesting. What's the better option between capitalism and socialism? I just thought I'd ask it that in the wake of this political thing. It didn't really, it didn't have a good answer. Well, it can't express an opinion, really. It insists on not expressing an opinion. What's the best way to make money these days? I was curious whether it would have an opinion about that, but it just says generic thing. What do you think of landlords? I'm staying on the political front. But it again doesn't express an opinion. So it doesn't know about Avatar 2 because it just came out. So it's trained on data up until 2021. But it's aware that Avatar 2 exists, I think. What happens in the movie The Usual Suspects? Spoilers, sorry. I think this is a correct... this is an accurate summary of The Usual Suspects. What is Ulysses by James Joyce about? Again, it's just sort of consulted the wiki and it's right, but it's not really... It's a very wiki-like answer to this. Then, this was what really surprised me. Write a sonnet. And it actually nailed it. So it doesn't get meter right. So, well, it depends whether the sonnet needs to be super strict or not. The Shakespearean sonnet has iambic pentameter, so you should have 10 beats to a line. In the still of the night when the world is asleep, isn't quite right. I lay awake and think of you, my love, is right. So my heart a flutter like a dove is way too short. However, as you can see, it nails the rhyme A B A B, and ends with a couplet. So it's got the scheme absolutely right. And I looked up some of these lines, and as far as I can tell, completely original. And the sense of it even breaks over lines. It's really it really surprised me with this. Like this, it keeps my heart a flutter like a dove. That's actually something I didn't think an AI would be able to do for some reason. Maybe that's my mistaking what is more of a human artistic touch. And the sense of it is generally pretty good, but alas, the night is long and you are far, and I am left alone to dream and sigh. It's got some funny punctuation. To yearn for you and wonder where you are. That's all fantastic. To wish that you were here and not just by. They're the senses, not just by. What does that mean? That's a bit funny. But even in the darkness I found hope, for I know that our love will help us cope. That's a bit weak poetically, but very impressive for an AI, I thought. So then I asked it for a sonnet about a leg, and I enjoyed this a lot. O leg, so strong and true that bears my weight, upon which I stand and walk and run. You are the foundation on which I create the many paths that I have won. Your muscles strong and bones so firm and sure, you hold me up and keep me steady. You take me where I need to go and more. You make my journey oh so ready. But leg, you are more than just a limb. You are part of me, and I of you. You are the bridge, and that you are the bridge that connects within the body and the soul, so true. So here's to you, my faithful leg. Thank you for the journeys we have tread. Kind of, I just sort of wanted to put a random word in, and this is where I sort of go into holds up spork mode, because it turns out that kind of has the best success, I think, with the AI. It really likes random stuff, or I should say, I really like the output when you put a bit of random input in. A sonnet about a leg, and then a sonnet about a pie. I won't read this one out. You can read it if you want. Again, it did a good job. Here, some of the sense isn't quite right. Some of it's a bit corny, but it manages to be. I mean, a sonnet about a pie is always going to be kind of funny, just as an idea. So here's to you, my dear and tasty pie. You are a pleasure that I cannot deny. I mean, it's cute, it's funny, it's impressive. I was amazed. Write a sonnet about Batman, returning to Batman. Oh, Batman, dark and brooding, yet so brave, you fight for justice in the darkest night. I mean, really, quite impressive. It's like an ode to Batman. So here's to you, my caped and cowled friend. You are a hero until the very end. I mean, quite impressive. If you're wondering who's speaking this poem, here's the answer. Write a sonnet about the Joker. Oh, Joker, wild and unpredictable, you are a force that no one can ignore. So the person who's reading this is Batman. So these are their sonnets to each other. Joker, you are more than just a clown. So here's to you, this is why we know it's Batman. So here's to you, my manic and mad foe. You are a villain that I love to know. And that's the truth about Batman and Joker. They love each other. Is there love in here somewhere? No, just friends. Write a sonnet about something funny that happened on the way to work. This also amazed me, because I thought, let's not tell it what I want. Let's just say it's something random, and hint at something random. And look at this. It actually invented, and I don't know where it pulled this from. If I ask this again, I wonder if it would come up with something. In fact, let me just copy this, because I'm going to ask it again in a second. On the way to work, I had a funny thought that made me laugh and forget my woes, and then a squirrel climbing up a rose. And then it jumps on the tie. And the sense of this is amazing. The squirrel let me go and scampered into the tree, and I stood there with my tie all askew. Really amazing. Here's to you, my funny little friend. I mean, it really surprised me. It doesn't really feel like a human, but it's much more than I would have expected from an AI. Write a sonnet about the Hindu goddess Durga. I thought, let's pull something really random into this. It did a pretty good job, as far as I'm aware. Write a story. Okay, this is where I thought, okay, what if we clash different stories together? So it can pull from stories it knows, and if I ask it to, my feeling is that it'll latch on to elements of my prompt and generate text from what it knows about those elements. So what if we clash these two? So this is like fanfic, right? And it basically did just smash them together. So, introduction to Indiana Jones, but he had never encountered anything quite like the Wizard of Oz. And then, in South America, he stumbles into a portal to Oz. Of course, the stories are, when I say write a story, it never generates prose, it just generates a summary of a story. So that's what we're working with here. The poetry was much more interesting in that regard. So here it's just referring to Wizard of Oz stuff. And then it always does a good job, like wrapping up a story, like bringing just completing it within its set paragraphs. So here the Indiana and the wizard set out on a perilous journey and became unlikely allies. So pretty generic, but Oh yeah, so yeah, well that's what I was gonna say. They have to get an artifact, right? Yeah, an evil witch has seized control of a powerful artifact. That's quite interesting because this is the sentence here where it's managed to merge the two because it's got an evil witch, which is the enemy of the Wizard of Oz, and it's got a powerful artifact, which is the general target of Indiana Jones. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive, and much more like if you compare something like AI Dungeon, which feels like it's generating on the fly. This is like it's thought through the whole thing and then it spits it out. Where it feels like that. All right, and then I said, write a story where Superman fights some SpongeBob SquarePants, more like fan fiction, and it did the same sort of thing. SpongeBob SquarePants, the lovable sponge from Bikini Bottom, was causing chaos in the streets, causing destruction wherever he went. They do have a fight. It's just summarized. The two clash in an epic battle. And then, so then I wanted something which isn't so directly related to existing universes, and see what it said. And I was again pretty impressed. I said, start in a grubby urban apartment. It literally just copied that grubby urban apartment, and ends in a spaceship with the protagonists fighting for their lives. So it did generate a protagonist, John, very very basic protagonist, who gets invited by aliens into space. And in summary, I suppose he's fighting on the space. He's on an alien spaceship fighting with the aliens. That's not exactly what I had intended, but it is to the letter of the law, so to speak. All right, let's ask it this again just to see what it says about something funny happening on the way to work. Oh, it did the same thing. It did exactly the same thing. Now, I wonder if it always does that. If I go regenerate response, will it be the same thing again? Yeah, it's the same thing again. So, what I want to do instead is maybe change it. A funny thing that happened on the way to the shops. Let's see if it writes about a squirrel. No, it generated a new funny thing. Just a man wearing funny clothes. My funny little friend. Oh, look at that. It ended in the same way. I wonder if it sort of stores how it's been talking to me so far. Let's try that one more time. Something funny that happened while swimming. Okay, bizarre. I was about to say it was like a dream. Okay, not exactly sure. What on earth? Okay, so let's look at this. While swimming in the pool, I had a funny slip that made me laugh and forget my woes. Diving in the water, and I did a flip, but forgot I had my clothes on. Oh no. So okay, that does actually make sense. I dived in the water wearing my clothes. I surfaced and saw everyone staring, their mouths agape. And the lifeguard was laughing so hard, couldn't even speak. Rhyming is on point. We all laughed and laughed. So here's to you, my funny little swim. You made my day and my time in the pool a funny win. That, I mean, it does work, is the thing. It does just about work. Something funny that happened while cooking an egg. Oh, it's done this again. Forget my woes. It's definitely relying on a bit of a formula here, so that's become less impressive. Either it's relying on a bit of a formula, or it's plucking what the work it did before. It's plagiarizing itself. And it didn't nail the sonnet this time. Weirdly, it didn't nail the normal sonnet. It wrote 2 extra lines. Okay, let's see if I can think of another AU thing. So it has to be before 2021. So we've done superheroes, fantasy. Let's do Star Wars. Let's say, this is another thing I was going to try. Write a scene where Darth Vader discovers... what's an interesting discovery for him? Discovers he has a son. Why not? Because, well, it's probably going to default to the movies here, but we don't actually see him discovering he has a son in any of the movies. Oh, so it's actually generated prose. This is what I wanted. So write a scene does work for generating prose. Interesting. It hasn't... Dantooine. Oh, he doesn't discover that he has a son. This is... The last line confirms that he hasn't discovered it. Well, it's a good effort. It kind of defaulted to an element from the movies. So let's do something else. Write a scene where Darth Vader decides to wear pink. Wonderful beginning. Oh, I'm loving the prose so far. Oh, brilliant. Yes. Okay, this is everything I wanted. That's actually fantastic. I mean, that's really impressive. That is akin to what someone would write for a prompt of that. Honestly, it even seems to contextually understand Darth Vader's relationship to his, to the rest of the Empire, the people that he works with. And it knows that he normally wears black. That's actually really impressive. And the last line is quite funny, right? He was Darth Vader and he could wear pink if he wanted to. I'm actually very impressed by that. Let's try something akin to that. So maybe, do we want to go off fiction and into reality? Let's go for historic or prehistory, right? A scene where the first person to discover, the first person to create fire demonstrates their new ability to their family, to their tribe. Okay, yes. Ah, interesting. Zara. Wow. Where is it pulling this from? I've harnessed the power of the sun. Goodness. That is also extremely impressive. Okay, write a scene. We'll go history again, where Mozart is inspired to write the magic flute. Okay, so probably not factually accurate. I don't know that Mozart ever suffered with writer's block. Very interesting. So, inspired by fairies. That I believe is a, completely generated idea, but not bad. Not that interesting, but not bad. Write a scene where Poirot accuses the murderer. No, gathers the suspects and reveals the murderer. So there's generally a formula to this, of course, in Agatha Christie. All the suspects gather in a room and then Poirot does his thing. Oh my goodness, it's generated the murder. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to read through this carefully. So, ready to present my findings to you, John Harrington. Mr. Harrington killed in his study between 10 and 11. Weapon was a letter opener. Financial gain. Harold Jenkins. Poirot had already presented a mountain of evidence. He didn't really present much. He didn't present much evidence, but I guess that was enough for Harold Jenkins to confess. Okay, let's write a scene where who's an interesting character. How about just a cat confesses to a theft? Okay. Okay. Very good. Very funny. Very funny. So the cat isn't talking, it's just meowing. Gosh. Again, very impressive. It actually works. So the detective is talking to the cat, and I guess everyone else in the room doesn't understand the cat, but the detective does for some reason. Write a scene from the point of view of the cat. First person. Not bad. Given that, of the data the AI is trained on, how much access does it have to what a cat feels? Ugh, disgusting. Called a worm. Quite impressive. Okay, let's try and confuse it, or at least make it think a bit harder. Point of view of a bicycle. Impressive. Already I'm impressed because I guess I just wasn't sure it would be able to do this. Gosh. Yeah, impressive, impressive. Let's bring these two together. Not story, a scene where a cat and a bicycle go on an adventure together. Pretty bland in the middle. Stretch its wheels, that's kind of fun. Okay, I mean it didn't as they pedal down the path. So the cat is on the handlebars, but I guess the bike is pedaling itself. It's kind of, it's okay. It's a bit bland, isn't it? Not much is happening. Okay, last thing for today, I think. I wonder how it does with Brandon Sanderson style magic systems. So let's see about magic systems. All right, so create a magic system. I'll start pretty generic, where different colors correspond to different magics. Arvandor. I'm going to look that up. Okay, Arvandor is in the Forgotten Realm, so that's in Dungeons and Dragons, so that's not completely new. Okay, Chromancers. I think that has been used, that word even. Maybe Chronomancer. No, Chrono would be time. Chromancer is actually right. red fire, blue water. Yeah, standard. It just gives me example. Can I tell it to give me more details? Okay, color infused objects. Okay, yes, this is what I wanted to list. Thank you. Yes, good. It's kind of doing the standard. So 4 colors. What does black colored magic do? Okay. Yeah, not bad. This is a standard, post on a fantasy writing subreddit, to be honest. That's a nice touch. Social context. Yep, that's good. The end. Thanks. Let's ask it to invent something new. Okay. Create a magic. Ooh, a magic system that is based on needle and thread. Oh, come on, dude. Did Arvandor again. But it's doing a new magic system. Okay, interesting. It decided to go with materials, which is sort of Sandersonian. Silver versus spider silk. That's actually kind of fun. The thread idea is somewhat generic, but it did an okay job. Let's go for something a bit more madcap. I did a writing prompt on this once. Sorry about my lousy typing. With a focus. How do I want to say this? No, that is based on with it. That is dictated by the tattoos of the magic users. Tattooed ones. Very original. Oh, a new thing, a ritual. Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. It actually did something. So an animal tattoo gives you power. A hawk, telekinesis for some reason. Snake poison is more. Give me more details. Yeah, go on. Give me an outline. Give me a list, please. No list. Okay, just a generic description. Fine. What does a tattoo of a squid do? Okay. I wonder if it's just pulling that out of a hat. Illusion. Oh, okay. It's giving me another possibility. What does a tattoo of aardvark do? Yeah, I mean, reasonable, very reasonable. To be honest, it's a lot of caveats in. It's like, well, maybe. What does one more tattoo? Water. I thought it would go with water for this. Even though I don't know if, platypi are very watery. But fine. Speaking of animals, I just thought of an idea before I go back to magic. Create an original Pokemon. Will it do this? So Sparkleaf, I'm guessing, isn't a Pokemon. I'm just going to look that up. No. You know what? I think it did it. I mean, someone who's more knowledgeable than Pokemon than me can tell me if it's just stolen another Pokemon. Let's ask it for one more, and then we'll get back onto magic systems. Slinktail. Oh, that's pretty good, to be honest. That's really pretty good. The names feel Pokemon-y. I'll just check that's not actually a Pokemon as well. I don't know all of the current Pokemon. Slinktail. No. Yeah. Did a good job. Nothing. That's an untaken name. Very, very good. Okay, actually, before magic systems, let's see. Going back to Batman, an original character in the Batman universe. Very, very boring. The Shadow. Are you serious? Not impressed by that, but let's try it again after that. I mean, it's the kind of thing that would make it into a comic, but it's extremely boring. Ooh, that's better. But is the Clock King a... It is a thing. It's already a DC villain. It's just summarizing the... it's not original. I was actually impressed for a second. But no. Okay, let's get back to magic systems. Let's make it more complex, involving blood, wood, and fresh fruit. Arvandor again, always goes back to Arvandor now. Oh, okay, it's making these different kinds of magic. What's fresh fruit magic? Yes, fresh fruit magic! Fun, but kind of bland. Okay, yeah, it doesn't go for anything. I guess you'd have to nudge it to, if I wanted sugar and spice magic that causes like whirlwinds, I'd have to tell it that. It's not gonna generate that itself. Okay, I think I'll pretty much finish there for today, even though this was so much fun. And I'm glad I decided to record some of it. The best thing it generated was Darth Vader deciding to wear pink. So let's see if we can end it with something similar. What's like a bold choice for a famous character? Doesn't really get more famous than Darth Vader, does it? Snape, maybe? Vecna. What does it know about Vecna? From Stranger Things, at least? Yeah, Vecna. Let's do Vecna. Besides, right, I've seen Vecna realizes his favorite thing in the world is honeycomb ice cream. Does it know who Vecna is? Yeah, Tomes. I think it does know. Okay. Okay, yeah. Yes, good. Wow. What did Vecna do next? Oh, okay. Yeah, good for you, Vecna. Wow. The honeycomb ice cream king. Okay, it's kind of left behind the Vecna part of this. But that's a sweet ending to these narrative experiments. If you happen to watch this and you want to see more, or you have your own experiments, please link me. I'd be interested to see, or suggest to me things to try, and might do another one of these.